Thank you for your testimony. I mean, this is exactly, I think, what we need to hear and what New Yorkers need to hear about the process from your expert testimony. I know some of my colleagues have some questions. First of all, I'd like to introduce State Senator Gustavo Rivera. And also we have my colleagues Dan Squadron, and Senator Stuart Cousins. I think Senator Krueger has a question, and then... Okay.
I think just for the last two speakers, so you talked about the impact on the agriculture sector on as a veterinarian, as a scientist. You didn't mention agricultural animals, and it's been a major concern of mine that we don't know what the impact will be on agricultural animals, and therefore, of course, many of us eat agricultural animals, which will translate to the human food supply. And I've been a bit appalled that the Farm Bureau is actually supporting hydrofracking, and I was just wondering whether you had any response on that issue.
Actually, we're continuing in this research. It's ongoing. And just yesterday, I spoke with a very large conventional dairy farmer in Susquehanna County who just sold her last cow 2 weeks ago. She is also a member of the Farm Bureau there in Pennsylvania, as well as being a member of the Soil and Water Conservation District. So she has this unique outlook. And she told me that the drilling there in Pennsylvania has really been a mixed blessing. She said, you just can't make a living at farming. We just can't make a living at farming anymore. So when these drillers come by and offer all of this money, and it can be the only way to hold on to your land, farmers grab at that. Okay, but she said it's really a mixed blessing, because then what happens is you can hold on to your land, but you lose your farm. Farms are going out of business. She had to sell her cows. They've had cows there since 1984. She said it's ripping them up that they had to go out of business. She told me all about the problems they had. Their water went bad. It actually turned black after drilling and fracking. They could not afford to bring in water for their cows. They switched to bottled water, and they started feeling better. They were starting to feel very sick with intestinal problems. They switched, they got better. That's after doing tests, a lot of tests with their doctor that all came back negative. Okay, but their cows had to continue to drink that water. So over time, they were seeing reproductive problems. Their cows weren't cycling. They weren't getting bred. They saw some neurological things. Cows were going down. They weren't able to stand up. There was not the typical reason that a cow goes down. It wasn't a metabolic thing. They also saw neurologic problems in their goats and their dogs. So this was not something that was just occurring in one species too. They saw a drastic drop in milk production, which really blew her away. She was watching it happening. She saw a drastic drop. And then she said, you know what, milk is mostly water. My cows don't want to drink this water. She watches them lap and throw their heads up. They don't want to drink this water. And so how could they produce milk? They weren't producing milk. It dropped by half. And she was watching them start to waste away. This is something I've heard repeatedly from other farmers. Their cows start to lose weight. They start to waste. They can't hold on to their weight. And she said, I couldn't bear to watch this happen to my cows anymore. I've been selling them off. They'll go to other farms, hopefully, where drilling is not occurring, and they'll start drinking again, and they'll be healthy. So after hearing that, putting that together with our study, we have a number of farmers that have gone out of business, and I've heard from people in the area in Pennsylvania, farmers going out. This is why they're going out. So what's happening here? The farmers are grabbing at the money, they desperately need it, and then on the other hand, they're losing their farms, they're losing their water. She said, it's just not worth the price. We're poisoned, we're being poisoned ourselves, we're poisoning our animals.
I just want to add a little story to that ties in the last testimony and the statement that Michelle just made. A couple of years ago, when Catskill Mountain Keeper, NRDC, Earth Justice, and the River Keeper hired a petroleum engineer from Alaska, and we hired a hydrogeologist to look at the SGEIS. At one of the conference calls, the two of them got into a little discussion because the hydrogeologist was saying, well, if the fracture from the hydraulic fracturing operation reaches the sandstone above the Marcellus, it will clearly make its way into the aquifer. And they were going back and forth, this little argument, and at the heated point of the argument, the petroleum engineer said, a good fracker doesn't frack out of zone. I would put out the scientific theory that a good fracker is very rare.